Thomas's Tale, Chapter 1. The End of an Era. The scent of old paper and quiet whispers always filled Thomas's world. For 5 happy years he had worked at the local library, a place he considered his second home. Every morning, he greeted the sunlight filtering through the tall windows, illuminating rows upon rows of stories waiting to be discovered. His best friend, Whiskers, a fluffy ginger cat with a perpetually curious gaze, was always there to welcome him home, a purring, comforting presence in his small, cozy apartment. Whiskers wasn't just a pet. He was family, a silent confidant through life's ups and downs. Thomas often spoke to him, sharing his day, his thoughts and his dreams. He loved his job at the library, especially helping people find the perfect book, recommending a thrilling mystery, or guiding a child to their first picture book. It felt meaningful, like he was connecting people with knowledge and joy. But one crisp Tuesday morning, the familiar comfort of the library air felt heavy. Mrs. Davison, the head librarian, a woman usually as cheerful as the children's section, called him into her office. Her face was etched with sadness. "Thomas," she began, her voice soft but firm, "I have some truly difficult news. The council has decided. The library, it will be closing its doors for good next month. We simply don't have the funds to keep it running." Thomas's heart plummeted. The words echoed in his mind. Closing, no funds. He felt a cold knot form in his stomach. "Closing down?" he repeated, his voice barely a whisper. "But what about my job, Mrs. Davison?" She sighed deeply, her gaze meeting his with genuine regret. "I'm so very sorry, Thomas. Everyone will be made redundant. You too will lose your job." The news hit him like a physical blow. The security, the routine, the purpose he found in his work, all of it was suddenly gone. How would he pay his rent? How would he buy food for himself and, more importantly, for Whiskers? The future, once a clear path, now looked like a dense, foggy forest. Chapter 2. A growing burden. The journey home felt longer than usual. The vibrant city streets, normally bustling with life, seemed muted and distant. Thomas's mind raced, filled with frantic questions and no answers. As he unlocked his apartment door, Whiskers, sensing his master's distress, immediately wound around his legs, purring a gentle, questioning rumble. Thomas bent down, scooping the warm, soft fur ball into his arms, holding him close. "What are we going to do, old friend?" he murmured into Whiskers' ginger fur, his voice thick with worry. Whiskers responded with a comforting headbutt, as if to say, "We'll figure it out." The following weeks were a relentless cycle of applications and rejections. Thomas meticulously searched online job boards, visited local businesses, and even considered jobs he'd never imagined doing. He spent hours typing cover letters, tailoring his CV, and hoping for a call. He sent dozens of applications for various roles: office assistant, shop clerk, even delivery driver, but the phone remained stubbornly silent. No interviews, no hopeful emails, just the quiet hum of his refrigerator and the rhythmic purr of Whiskers, who seemed blissfully unaware of the mounting pressure. As his savings account dwindled, a new anxiety gnawed at him. He started rationing his own food, buying cheaper brands, skipping breakfast, or making do with just a simple sandwich for dinner. The priority was always Whiskers, his beloved cat's food, his treats, Those were non-negotiable. Thomas believed that as long as Whiskers was happy and well fed, they would get through this together. But the worry, a heavy, constant companion, was slowly wearing him down. Chapter 3. A familiar face in the park. One crisp autumn afternoon, feeling particularly disheartened, Thomas decided to clear his head with a walk in the local park. The golden leaves crunched under his feet, a mournful sound that matched his mood. He watched children playing, families laughing, and felt a pang of loneliness. As he rounded a bend in the path, he noticed a familiar figure sitting on a park bench, engrossed in a thick hardback book. It was Mrs. Higgins, a kind elderly lady with a gentle smile and twinkling eyes, who had been one of the library's most devoted patrons. She always had a stack of books by her side, and a cheerful greeting for everyone. Taking a deep breath, Thomas decided to approach her. "Hello, Mrs. Higgins," he said, his voice a little raspy from disuse. "How are you today?" Mrs. Higgins looked up, her face lighting up with recognition. "Thomas, my dear boy, what a pleasant surprise." "I'm quite well, thank you." "But you, my dear, you look a little troubled. Is everything all right?" Her genuine concern was like a warm blanket on a cold day. Thomas found himself pouring out his heart, explaining the library's closure, his job loss, and the mounting financial anxieties. He spoke about his unsuccessful job hunt and his fears for the future. Mrs. Higgins listened patiently, her eyes never leaving his face, a hand resting gently on the book beside her. When he finished, she patted his arm softly. "Thomas," she said, her voice filled with warmth, "you were always such a treasure at the library. You have a true passion for books, a wonderful way with people, and you remember every story. Have you considered working in a bookshop?" Chapter 4. A spark of hope. Thomas had to admit, the thought of working in a bookshop hadn't crossed his mind. He'd been so focused on finding any job that he hadn't considered one that truly aligned with his passion. There was, in fact, a charming, independent bookshop just a few streets away from his apartment called The Book Nook. It was a local gem, known for its cozy atmosphere and unique selection of titles. He'd often admired its quaint shopfront, with its overflowing window displays and inviting warm glow. He'd even popped in a few times himself, drawn by the quiet hum of contented readers and the comforting scent of new books. But it had never occurred to him that he could work there. A bookshop? Thomas repeated, the idea slowly taking root in his mind. "You know, Mrs. Higgins, I hadn't actually thought of that." A faint spark of hope flickered within him, chasing away some of the gloom that had settled over him. "There's the Book Nook, just around the corner from me," he mused aloud. "Do you think they might be looking for someone?" Mrs. Higgins smiled, her eyes twinkling. "Thomas, dear, why don't you go and ask? The owner, Mr. Peterson, is a lovely man. He runs a wonderful shop, and I'm sure he'd be happy to speak with you." "What's the worst that can happen?" Her words were simple, yet they carried a profound wisdom. What was the worst that could happen? A polite no? He'd had plenty of those already. But what if the answer was yes? Suddenly, the path ahead didn't seem quite so foggy. He stood up, a renewed sense of purpose energizing him. "Thank you, Mrs. Higgins. Thank you so much. That's a wonderful idea." He felt a lightness in his step as he walked home, a tiny flicker of optimism illuminating his way. Chapter 5. The Book Nook's warm welcome. The next morning, Thomas woke up with a rare sense of anticipation. He carefully chose his clothes, making sure his shirt was ironed and his trousers neat. He wanted to make a good impression. After a quick breakfast, he left Whiskers with a final pat and a promise to be back soon. The walk to the book nook felt shorter today, fueled by his newfound hope. As he pushed open the heavy wooden door, a gentle chime announced his arrival. The air inside was a comforting mix of old paper, new print, and a subtle hint of coffee from a small corner cafe within the shop. Sunlight streamed through the large front window, highlighting dust motes dancing in the air and illuminating the vibrant spines of countless books stacked on dark wooden shelves that stretched from floor to ceiling. The atmosphere was calm, inviting, and utterly magical. Behind the counter, a tall man with kind, intelligent eyes and a warm smile was helping a customer. This must be Mr. Peterson, Thomas thought. He looked exactly as Mrs. Higgins had described. Thomas patiently waited, admiring the carefully curated displays of new releases and classic novels. When the customer left, Mr. Peterson looked up and offered a friendly nod. "Can I help you?" he asked, his voice soft and welcoming. Thomas approached the counter, his heart thumping a little faster. "Excuse me, Mr. Peterson," he began, trying to sound confident. "My name is Thomas. I used to work at the local library, which, as you know, is closing. I was wondering if by any chance you might have any job openings here." He held his breath, bracing himself for another rejection, but also clinging to the hope that this time it might be different. Chapter 6. A Meeting of Minds. Mr. Peterson's friendly smile didn't falter. He leaned against the counter, observing Thomas with an interested gaze. "The library, you say?" he mused, his brow furrowing slightly in sympathy. "That's truly a shame about its closure. A real loss for the community." He paused, then his eyes brightened. "As a matter of fact, Thomas, you've come at a rather opportune moment. I've been contemplating expanding my team. This shop gets quite busy, especially in the afternoons and on weekends, and I could certainly use an extra pair of hands." Thomas's heart gave a hopeful leap. He tried to keep his expression neutral, but a small smile escaped him. "Really?" he asked, a hint of excitement in his voice. Mr. Peterson nodded. "Indeed. Your experience at the library would be invaluable. You must know a great deal about books and how to help people find what they're looking for. Are you interested in a part-time position to begin with? We could see how it goes." A part-time position. It wasn't full-time, but it was a start, a foot in the door, a chance to work with books again. It was exactly what he needed. "Yes, Mr. Peterson," Thomas exclaimed, unable to hide his enthusiasm this time. "I would be absolutely interested. I would be incredibly grateful for the opportunity." A wave of relief washed over him, a feeling so strong it made him almost lightheaded. The fog in his future was beginning to lift. Chapter 7. The Joy of New Beginnings. Mr. Peterson handed Thomas a simple application form and a pen. "Take this home, fill it out, and bring it back tomorrow," he said with a warm smile. "If all looks good, you can start next Monday. We'll begin with a few training shifts to get you familiar with our system. But I have a good feeling about this." Thomas thanked him profusely, feeling a lightness he hadn't experienced in weeks. He practically floated out of the book nook, clutching the application form like a precious treasure. When he got home, Whiskers greeted him with his usual enthusiastic purr. Thomas picked him up and spun him gently. Whiskers, my friend, we've got good news. I've got a job. At a bookshop, imagine that. Whiskers responded with a series of happy chirps and headbutts, as if he understood every word. The next few days flew by. Thomas meticulously filled out the form and spent time researching the book Nook online, eager to learn more about its unique character. Starting his new job at the Book Nook felt like coming home. The rhythm of shelf stocking, the quiet joy of recommending a beloved novel to a customer, the simple pleasure of organizing books by genre and author. It was all deeply satisfying. Mr. Peterson was a patient and encouraging boss, always ready to answer questions or offer advice. The other staff members, a diverse group of book lovers, were equally welcoming and quickly made him feel like part of the team. Thomas found himself smiling more, humming tunes as he worked, and feeling a renewed sense of purpose. Chapter 8. Stability and Simple Pleasures. Life began to settle into a comfortable rhythm. With a steady income from the Book Nook, Thomas no longer had to worry about skipping meals or cutting corners on Whisker's food. He could pay his rent on time, buy fresh groceries, and even save a little money each week. The constant knot of anxiety in his stomach slowly unraveled, replaced by a quiet sense of security. He found immense satisfaction in his work. He loved chatting with customers about their literary interests, sharing his knowledge of different authors, and guiding them to new discoveries. It was different from the library, perhaps a bit more personal, and he thrived on the direct interaction with fellow book enthusiasts. He often found himself recommending obscure titles he'd loved or discussing the nuances of a classic novel with an eager reader. Whiskers, too, seemed to flourish with Thomas's improved mood and the consistent supply of his favorite salmon pâté. He was more playful, chasing sunbeams across the apartment floor, batting at dangling toys, and often curling up on Thomas's lap in the evenings while Thomas read. Their routine, once disrupted by uncertainty, was now firmly back in place. Morning cuddles, shared quiet moments, and the comforting presence of each other. Thomas often thought about Mrs. Higgins, grateful for her simple, yet life-changing suggestion. Her kindness had been the catalyst that led him to this new, happier chapter. He knew he was incredibly lucky to have found a job that not only paid the bills, but also brought him genuine joy, surrounded by the very things he loved most. Books. Chapter 9. A full-time horizon. A few months passed, and Thomas felt truly at home at the Book Nook. He had learned the layout of every section, memorized popular titles, and even developed a knack for predicting what customers might enjoy based on their previous purchases. He was efficient, friendly, and genuinely passionate about his work. One brisk Tuesday morning, Mr. Peterson called Thomas into his small, cluttered office at the back of the shop. Thomas felt a familiar flutter of nerves, but it was quickly replaced by a sense of calm. He trusted Mr. Peterson. Thomas, Mr. Peterson began, leaning back in his creaky chair, a warm smile on his face. I wanted to have a chat with you. You've been an incredible asset to the Book Nook. Your knowledge of books is outstanding. Our customers adore you, and you're a fantastic team player. The shop has been doing really well, and I honestly couldn't manage without you. He paused, and Thomas listened intently. I've been thinking, Mr. Peterson continued, his voice softer. How would you feel about transitioning from part-time to a full-time position? It would involve more responsibilities, of course, but also a more stable income and full benefits. It's a permanent role, Thomas, if you're interested. Thomas's eyes widened. A full-time position. This was beyond what he had hoped for. It meant true stability, even more security, and a deeper commitment to the job he loved. Mr. Peterson, he replied, his voice filled with genuine gratitude. I would absolutely love that. Thank you. Thank you so much for this incredible opportunity. It means the world to me. A broad grin spread across his face. Chapter 10. A happy new chapter. The news of his full-time position solidified Thomas's happiness. He was no longer just an employee. He was an integral part of the Book Nook family. His days were filled with the satisfying hum of the shop, the rustle of pages, and the engaging conversations with customers and colleagues. He often saw Mrs. Higgins browse the shelves, and they would share a knowing smile, a silent acknowledgement of the role she played in his good fortune. He even started a small savings fund for a slightly larger apartment, perhaps one with a sunny windowsill just for Whiskers. At home, life was calm and joyful. Whiskers was thriving, a healthy, playful companion whose purrs were the soundtrack to Thomas's evenings. They had their routines, their shared moments of quiet contentment, and the unspoken understanding that comes from true companionship. Thomas knew he had faced a difficult time, losing his old job and struggling with financial worries. But through perseverance, a little luck, and the unexpected kindness of others, he had found something even better. He had found a new purpose, a wonderful community, and the stability to enjoy his life to the fullest. He had learned that sometimes, when one door closes, a much brighter one opens, leading you to exactly where you're meant to be, surrounded by the stories he loved and the unconditional affection of his best feline friend. Thomas was, finally, truly happy.